Yo, Big D, back and ready for my NFC East predictions. Yes, we're talking NFC East on the Spunky Spectrum Sports YouTube page. Before I tell you all things Eagles, Cowboys, Giants, and Commanders, please subscribe, like, and share the Spunky Spectrum Sports YouTube page where you can not only see all my videos, see all my streams, but check out all the podcasts I put on the Big Deep Podcast. Speaking of the Big Deep Podcast, we'll be back and check us out on Spotify and Apple. So, obviously, before I tell you about the NFC East, a couple big stories. One, Justin Herbert got the biggest deal in NFL history, 5 years, 250, 260 plus million. Obviously, we knew the Chargers would keep Justin Herbert. He's done everything except win a playoff game in his 3 years with the Bolts. I think it's only a matter of time for the Chargers to succeed. Now, whether it's with Coach Staley, Kellen Moore, we don't know. But eventually, the Chargers are going to stay healthy and put it together and give Kansas City all they want. Because I'm not sure there has been a tougher matchup for Patrick Mahomes than Justin Herbert. Every Charger Chief game I see goes right down to the wire. I mean, even did a game in LA where the Chiefs got another home game because the Chargers can't find enough home fans in Inglewood. And I think the question this year is simple: can the Chargers go from playoff contenders to potential AFC West or even Super Challenge? Because if the Chargers succeed this year, Coach Staley and Kellen Moore have done their jobs. If not, somebody's getting fired. And be honest with you, I was surprised somebody didn't get fired after the Bolts blew a 27-0 lead to my Jags in the wild card round last year. But things are getting into. But Justin Herbert's getting a deal, and another quarterback from the 2020 draft, Joe Burrow. Uh, I think everybody in Cincinnati put their hearts in mouths when they saw Joe Burrow's injury. But right now it looks if if people haven't seen it during today's training camp practice, Joe Burrow went down doing a non-contact play, and usually that means one of two things: either torn ACL or torn Achilles. And Burrow hurt his knee a couple years ago, so everybody in Cincinnati is worried that he may have torn an Achilles. But from the reports we're seeing, it looks like more a calf strain. So if it's a calf strain, 4, 6, maybe 8 week injury, so potentially back by the start of the season. If it's any more, Cincinnati season is over. And Joe Burrow is potentially next in line to set the quarterback market. Okay, because Herbert and Burrow were from the same draft class. Burrow was number 1 in 2020. Herbert was number 6. So Burrow's going in all likelihood, it's going to set the NFL benchmark for quarterbacks. Now he's got an injury. I mean, remember last year Burrow dealt with an impediment, so maybe Burrow should just skip training camp and go right to the regular season. But hopefully for NFL and Bengals' sake that Burrow's okay and we can see one of the best young quarterbacks, or even put in mind best quarterbacks in football return. So back to NFC East, and this has been a crazy division. Can you believe no team has repeated as division champ since the 01 through 04 Eagles under Andy Reid? But this year, I think we're going to rewrite history. And how good were the Philadelphia Eagles last year? As close to a Super Bowl as you can come. Obviously, we know what happened. Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid came to play that second half, but Jalen Hurts was unbelievable last year. You could argue he was the MVP until that shoulder injury. And despite not being 100% in the Super Bowl, Jalen Hurts was magnificent. I mean, other than the scoop and score fumble, he was fantastic. And Philly not only got a quarterback, but they paid him. And I think Jalen Hurts more than deserving of his contract. We know what he did at Alabama and then at Oklahoma. And I think that Jalen Hurts has overcome, and he showed his leadership, showed his maturity, showed his versatility, and showed how much he won. Because Jalen Hurts was a second-round pick. A lot of people thought he was more a runner than throw. Well, last year he could throw the ball, and my goodness, Jalen Hurts was magnificent. Obviously, the Eagles did a couple really good things, getting Devontae Smith in the 2021 draft, and then AJ Brown doing the 2022 draft, and both guys look magnificent. AJ Brown finally got to play with an offense that showed his talent, showed what he could do as a receiver, and we know what Devontae Smith is as a playmaker. We know what kind of route running he is. Look at that 2020 Alabama tape, and Devontae Smith not only was the best wide receiver in college football, he was the best player in college football. Nobody could stop him. You put 2 guys on him, 3 guys on him, hell, you put the whole defense on him, and nobody's stopping him. So, and not just those guys, but Dallas Goedert, an underappreciative tight end. Obviously, he's not a Travis Kelce. He's not maybe a Mark Andrews, but I think Dallas Goedert's a really underrated tight end. And in this offense, particularly in today's NFL, you need a good tight end. And Dallas Goedert can be that tight end. Obviously, the Eagles' running game will be interesting this year. No Miles Sanders, who's in Carolina. The Eagles made a trade for DeAndre Swift from the Lions, so we'll see if DeAndre Swift ever stays healthy. Did sign Roger Penny from the Seahawks, and of course Kenneth Gainwell, who was really the number 1 back in the Super Bowl. I mean, it will be fascinating to see what Nick Sirianni does. Who's the number 1 guy? I mean, we heard Penny got the first snap with the ones in practice, but there's a difference between practicing in July and practicing in January or February. So if the Eagles, and I expect the Eagles to play in January, to play meaningful playoff games in December, the running back carousel will be interesting. Obviously, the offensive line was a huge strength for the Eagles last year. We know what Jason Kelce and Lane Johnson can do. I'm not sure there's been a better center in the last decade plus than Kelce. I mean, I know linemen don't always get it in the Hall of Fame, but Jason Kelce should be there. Put that guy in the Hall of Fame. They need to have like a center like in college football, like the Remington Award. Maybe it should be the Jason Kelce Award for centers, because it seems like Jason Kelce just gets better and better. And in a Super Bowl where the other team, Kansas City, Clyde Humphrey's a very good young center, but we know what Kelce can do. And Lane Johnson's been unbelievable in Philadelphia. So the offensive line still looks good. Defensively, the Eagles almost set a record for single-season sacks. Unfortunately, they get Mahomes in the Super Bowl. But we know what the Eagles can do. The Eagles can get a lead and then try and sack your quarterback and then run the ball, control the line of scrimmage. But there are a couple things I wonder about with the Eagles. two new coordinators. It was because the old C is now the HC in Indianapolis, Shane Steichen, and John Gann, the defensive coordinator, is now the head coach with the Arizona Cardinals. So, how will things change? The schedule's harder this year because the NFC East was actually really good last year. So playing all those guys twice, teams twice. The Eagles play the NFC West. Trying to think what are the AFC East, and then the other AFC game is at Kansas City. So it's a brutal schedule, and the Eagles are not going to be the hunter; they're going to be the hunted because this is everybody hates everybody in this division. There are no soft rivals, whether it's Giants Commanders or Eagles Cowboys. Everybody hates everybody. And we've seen where teams that lose the Super Bowl often come back to the pack a little bit. But I mean, the Bengals came close to back-to-back Super Bowls last year, but the Rams struggle a little bit. We've seen the Seahawks struggle. Some teams struggle. So it's hard to repeat, especially when the Eagles stayed healthy. So will the injuries mount this year? Will the Eagles be able to replace those two important coordinators? And will Jalen Hurts live up to a $200+ million contract? Because was that just one great year, or can Jalen Hurts grow and be a top three or challenge Mahomes as the best quarterback in football? Because I think this Eagles team is good enough. They stay healthy, everyone produces. Well, they can make a run and potentially end up in Las Vegas for the Super Bowl in February. I think this team's definitely in the Super Bowl hunt. With that quarterback, those wide receivers, the offensive and defensive line, I think this is a team that is one of the favorites. You put them with the 49ers as Super Bowl frontrunners in the NFC. Now we head from the city of brotherly love, the Big D. That is Texas, where the Cowboys are next. The Cowboys will be interesting. Good, bad, or ugly this year, because any team with Jerry Jones as its owner is always interesting. But obviously, the Cowboy season will start and end based on Dak Prescott, because Dak Prescott was not good last year. Threw way too many interceptions. Always at key times, seemingly. A couple bad interceptions in the playoffs against the Niners. Yeah, what if I told you in 12 games Dak Prescott threw 15 interceptions? Dak and Davis Mills led the NFL with 15 interceptions. And remember, Dak missed a few games with that thumb injury last year, so things have to change for Dak, because this Cowboy team always faces huge expectations, and Dak's potentially in line for another big contract. So, but they all changed with the Cowboys. Kellen Moore is now the offensive coordinator with the Chargers. So it looks like Mike McCarthy / Brian Schottenheimer will run the offense. Obviously, Mike McCarthy used to be an offensive coordinator in the past. He used to run plays in Green Bay. But will the Cowboys be as pass heavy, or will they run the ball more with Tony Pollard and go away from Dak? Maybe have him throw more play action, safer passes. Obviously, the Cowboys wide receiver core looks interesting. CeeDee Lamb, we know who CeeDee Lamb can be. He's a really consistent, really reliable wide receiver. Brandon Cooks, I mean, it seemingly that Brandon Cooks, if he could ever stay healthy, can produce. I'm not sure if Brandon Cooks what he was. Seemingly every year I see at least one Brandon Cooks concussion, but and either a trade or a rumor he ends up going somewhere else because I think Brandon Cooks has been with like has been with like more than half. He's been he's been in the NFC South with the Saints, the AFC East with the Patriots, NFC West with the Rams, AFC South with the Texans, now NFC East with the Cowboys. Just put him in the NFC North, AFC West, and AFC North. And AFC North will have all the divisions. He's slowly becoming like the Julio Franco of all, or who was the Edwin Jackson of the National Football League. He'll have like 13 helmets at home. But I think Cooks is going to be interesting as a number two. I am really intrigued by Michael Gallup this year because, yes, he tore his ACL toward the end of the 21 season, so wasn't really quite himself last year. But, guys, 2 years off an ACL should be better. And if the Cowboys throw the ball this year, I really like Gallup as that third receiver because C. Lamb's going to get double teams potentially. And Gallup could get a lot of single coverage, so he potentially is in line for a big year. Obviously, no Dalton Schultz, so we'll see what the Cowboys tight end group looks like. No Zeke Elliott, so unless the Cowboys sign him between now and the season, or another back, will that be Leonard Fournette? So Tony Pollard looks like he'll be the lead tailback, and Big D, Big D, Big D. But I mean, Tony Pollard's not a big guy, but he is a big play waiting to happen. Saw what he did, especially against Minnesota last year. And can he handle the workload? Because I'm not sure you want him touching the ball 250, 300 times, but if you get him 12, 15, 20, 18 touches a game, he is a mismatch. He could be that Christian McCaffrey, the Alvin Kamara, the Saquon Barkley on a scat bat. And yes, he is coming off a pretty severe and a very severe injury in the division round loss to the Niners. And then defensively with the Cowboys, I mean, we know what Michael Parsons is. There aren't many better pass rushers or defensive players in general than him. Trayvon Diggs got a big stack of money, so obviously Jerry Jones locking up key guys. I think the Cowboys defense is going to be great again. I mean, you have those guys. We'll see what the Marcus Lawrence says. I mean, be productive. I mean, Cowboys can win games with their defense. I think the question is, I think the questions with Dallas are one, how will the Cowboys replace Kellen Moore? And will Dak be more consistent? Yes. The Cowboys can't have Dak throw for 400 yards every game. Dak's not Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, where he can win a game going toe for toe. Dak needs to be more consistent. He doesn't have the arm where he can make those type throws. The Cowboys need to be a 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, where they can get those first downs. And if Dak's throwing the ball 30, 35 times, I think they're better than if he throws it 50 times. Because if Dak throws it 50 times, bad things will happen. If he throws it 25, 30 times, Cowboys can win. I mean, are the Cowboys the favorite in the NFC East? No. Are they a playoff team? Probably. I mean, yeah, Mike these clock issues might scare people, but Andy Reid had a lot of clock issues before that Mahomes guy came to Kansas City. So, I mean, if the Cowboys won the division in 2021, and seemingly this division gets a new champ every year. Could it be Dallas if that happened? Well, we'll see. Schedule's not easy. Get the Chargers on as the extra divisional game, which could be a Dallas home game because there are literally thousands of Cowboy fans in the greater LA area. So the Cowboys might end up with 9 home games this year. Now, the New York Football Giants. Obviously, the big storyline here has been the Saquon Barkley saga. I mean, there were questions whether or not Saquon was going to get a big deal. The Giants gave Daniel Jones a big deal instead of franchising him, then franchised Saquon Barkley, and then the deadline for signing franchise players came without a long-term deal. So then Saquon threatened the holdout. Then the Giants gave him a revised deal, which hasn't been seen in decades. So now Saquon in training camp. I thought the Giants, with how important Saquon was, especially for Daniel Jones last year, I thought even though running backs don't get big deals, it would have made sense to give Saquon a deal. Because I think the Giants need Saquon Barkley. He wasn't quite his old self, but Saquon was good last year. Obviously, we know what Daniel Jones did. Daniel Jones would be great if he played the Minnesota Vikings every week because I think he might challenge Phil Simms or Eli Manning if he played the Vikings every single week because he got himself a huge contract based on those 2 games. But obviously, we know what Brian Dable did last year. One of the best coaching jobs. Really helped Daniel Jones. Really brought stability and a quiet and a calmness to the locker room because the Giants had been a mess for the past few years. Eli Manning's end did not go well, and then the Giants just brought crappy coaches in there. Now they've got a grown-up. We know what Brian Dable is as a coach. We know what Mike Kafka is as an offensive coordinator. I'm surprised he didn't get more looks, but it's a potential head coach. But I think the Giants are going to be interesting this year. Offensive line could have some question marks. Andrew Thomas just got a nice contract, so he'll be Daniel Jones' left tackle for the foreseeable future. Isaiah Hodgins looks like a pretty good wide receiver. I'm not sure he's a true one, but he'll probably end up being the one in New York. Drafted Jalen Hyatt, a couple other receivers. Can you believe the Giants have not won the NFC East since 2011? Oh, by the way, you know what happened that year? The Giants won the Super Bowl. Beat some guy named Tom Brady. Not bad, right? Wait a minute. Let me see. But I think this Giant team's going to be interesting. We know what Dexter Lawrence is as a mount of a defensive lineman. I just wonder whether Daniel Jones season will based on those 2 games against Minnesota, or can he be a reliable quarterback? Obviously drafted Deontay Banks, the corner from Maryland. Jalen Hyatt, wide receiver from Tennessee. Let's see. I think they signed. Yeah, the Giants signed Cole Beasley, Parrish Campbell, Isaiah Hodgins, Wan'Dale Robinson, Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton. Giants did make a very interesting trade for Darren Waller, so we'll see. So Darren Waller potentially could be the number one option with the Giants. I think it'll be Waller and probably Hodgins as the leading pass receivers. Obviously, Saquon can be a receiver coming out of the backfield. But Waller's dealt with a lot of injuries, and you wonder if he's hit the wall. Defensively, Giants are going to be interesting. We know Big Justin Lawrence can do. I think the secondary is going to be interesting. That opening Sunday night game against the Cowboys is going to tell us a lot about Neil, because the Giants come and win that game, then they have. Giants don't have a lot of home games. I think they have. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4 home games. It's the first 11 week. The Giants don't have really any games. They've got some travel. Back-to-back West Coast games against Arizona and the Niners. Seattle, Miami, Buffalo, Las Vegas, Dallas. Schedule. Let's get a little easier toward the back half of the year, late bye. It is not an easy schedule for the Giants this year. And Daniel Jones is now going to be playing on a $100 million contract. So things are good. So we'll see what happens with the Giants. And in the Washington Commanders, obviously new ownership changes there. So goodbye, Daniel Snyder. Hello to maybe new ownership, maybe a turnaround of the franchise. I'm intrigued what the Commanders do at quarterback, because Sam Howell was drafted out of North Carolina. Will he be the guy? Would Jacoby Brissett be the guy? Because I'm not sure Ron Rivera knows offense. It looks like Brian Robinson's going to be the lead tailback, and Tony Gibson could be that tweener, wideout running back. We'll see. Can you imagine what Terry McLaurin would do if he actually got to play with a competent quarterback? He might be really good. He is really good, but he might be even so much better with a competent quarterback. Back this year, I don't know what to think the Commanders' potential. So, playoff team the end of last year. Josh Harris come in, spent $6 billion. So it's gonna be a lot of eyes, a lot of scrutiny on this team in this year, and with a new ownership, he's generally going to want his own coach. So Ron Rivera's hot seat, if it wasn't already hot, it got so much hot. And this team could go one of two ways. Get a hot start, all of a sudden positive momentum, new ownership, or this team doesn't start off well, everybody's getting fired. And not just the head coach, it could be Martin Mayhew, the general manager, it could be all sorts of people. Because if Magic Johnson's owning your team, you're going to have the nation looking at you, whether you're the Commanders or whatever team. Washington picks. Schedule is interesting to start off with. Arizona at home, at Denver. Oh, that won't be fun. Buffalo at Philly, Chicago at Atlanta, at New York, Philly, at New England, at Seattle, New York, at Dallas on Thanksgiving, Miami, and then at LA, at New York, San Francisco, and Dallas. So it's not an easy schedule despite it being a fourth place schedule this year. I think it's a team that offers a wide range of expectation. It could be somewhat decent or not. I mean, at best, I see this team potentially as a playoff team, but in all likelihood, I think this is a last place team. I don't think it'll be bad enough to be in the Caleb Williams or Drake May sweepstakes. Potentially, you're looking at a 6-7 win team. And based on the Eagles, Cowboys, and Giants last year, I think the Commanders are a clear fourth place team in a division that is wonky, that we don't see a lot of repetitive repeat division winners. Now, I mentioned earlier, the last time that a team won repeated as NFC champ, East champ, the 01 through 04 Eagles with Andy Reid.
All right.
Sorry, somebody's bulging in. Sorry, somebody wants in my YouTube page right now, but I think this Eagle team has got a chance to go on a run for the next 4 or 5 years. I'm picking the Eagles to win the NFC East. I think this is a favorite to end up in Las Vegas. I picked the Eagles to win this division last year. I think this Eagle team, well, maybe not quite what it was last year in the NFC, where they're on a lot of great quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts is the best quarterback in the conference right now. There's no Justin Herbert. There's no Patrick Mahomes. There's no Josh Allen or Joe Burrow. Give me all the Jalen Hurts. I think the Eagles are going to fly. Eagles fly during the division title and put an end to teams not repeating as NFC East champs. So I think the Eagles, despite losing both coordinators, are going to be are going to not win the division, but give the 49ers all they want in an NFC championship or potential Super Bowl. But give me the Eagles. Cowboys probably finish second. Giants third. Commanders fourth. So one last division, that would be the AFC. So thanks for tuning in tonight. And I can't believe we're down to one more division. It's the least of our problems, right?